Thanks for joining us today for our first session of Grinds on a Dime, an online cooking series with affordable, easy recipes to feed your family. I'm Marielle Hampton, and my colleague cooking today is Hallie Cristobal. We're both extension agents with the University of Hawaii's College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources, or CTAHR. As part of the Cooperative Extension Service, we provide science-based public outreach and education to support families, youth, older adults, and residents across the lifespan in Hawaii. Just a couple quick housekeeping items. You'll see an anonymous poll pop up on your screen. Please fill that out before we get started. This is just a poll that we are required to take for federal reporting purposes. Then during the presentation, feel free to make comments in the chat, and you can use the Q&A section to ask questions. And I will be reading those aloud to our presenter as we go. Last but definitely not least, don't forget to wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds before working with food or eating. All right, let's dive in. Today we'll be watching Hallie demonstrate how to make 3 tasty vegetarian dishes: chickpea curry, cauliflower gyros, and buffalo dip. So I'm going to stop sharing now and turn it over to Hallie to get us started.
All right, hi everybody. So my name is Hallie. I work from Kauai County. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be kind of moving through a couple different recipes, maybe jumping from one to the other. But the first thing I want you to do, just like Marielle said, please go ahead and wash your hands if you are participating today. And while you're washing your hands, please set your oven to 425 if you are going to be making the cauliflower gyros. So I have my cauliflower right here. So this is 2 bags that have been defrosted. If you want to use raw, that's completely fine. So this is defrosted, and I've also just squeezed out a little bit of the juice. You don't really want too much juice in there. If it was icy and it kind of melted down, just kind of squeeze it a little bit. All right, so to this, we're going to be adding 3 garlic cloves. And this is completely optional if you want to get it pre-minced. If you are already using it pre-minced, you want to take about 1 tablespoon and add that into our mixture. And you can add more too if you want, if you like garlic. And if you don't, then you can always omit it. All right, so we're also going to be adding the juice of 1 large lemon. Also, if you do not have lemons in your yard, or lemons are kind of expensive in the store right now, you can use this product, and I'll show that up close. So it's just lemon juice in a jar. So if you are using this, we're going to go ahead and use about 1/2 tablespoon. To this, we also want to add 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And you can use regular olive oil or extra virgin. I'm using extra virgin today. So the first time I made this recipe, it was actually kind of a fail the first time I made it. So my brother just recently had a girlfriend who came to the house, and she was vegetarian. And when I was growing up, my family is very meat and rice. You know how they hear like meat and potatoes? We weren't meat and potatoes. We were a very meat and rice family. So we did eat vegetables, but it wasn't always the main part of your dish, right? Okay, so to this, we're also going to add in 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. And anyway, so I was trying to experiment a little bit so that I could, actually let her have something to eat at our house. And so I did this recipe, and I also did the curry that we are going to be making tonight. The first time I made this, it didn't come out great. I had to tweak it a little bit. But second time you make it, you'll be a pro. Okay, to this, we're also going to be adding in 1 tablespoon of oregano. One teaspoon of onion powder. We also want 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. One teaspoon of dried rosemary. Some salt and pepper. Okay, and then we're gonna add in some paprika. You could use smoked or you could just use regular. So about 1/2 teaspoon. And this kind of just gives more color versus flavor. And then you can add in ground coriander or cayenne pepper if you want it a little bit spicy. So what I'm going to do is just stir this all together. And if you are cooking the recipe tonight and you feel like we're going a little bit too fast, just go ahead and put it in the chat and we can slow down. All right, so we're going to mix this all together and it should kind of be like kind of an orangey yellowish color. Okay. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and put this on our baking sheet. And you want to spread it out. You want to make sure that nothing has 2 layers because you want everything to crisp up nice and golden brown. Okay, and you can also do this recipe in the air fryer if you have an air fryer available. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, so we'll slow down just a little bit. So if you were going to go ahead and use the air fryer tonight, you would put everything into the bowl, all the ingredients on the recipe list. You would mix it just like how we did, and then you would throw it into your air fryer, probably about 375 to 400 degrees for roughly about 10 to 15 minutes. And it'll give you the same outcome as if you were putting it in the oven at 425 for 25 to 30 minutes. All right. How's everybody doing so far?
Great. I think it's good that you're slowing down a little bit. I was personally going to comment that I like that you're not actually measuring everything. It seems like that's how I like to cook too. You know, I like to eyeball things.
I think for me, I've honestly just been cooking for so long that when I measure, I'm kind of measuring it in my head. So like as I'm measuring tablespoons or teaspoons, I kind of count it out in my head, and that's kind of weird. If you are just starting to learn how to cook or you want specifics, everything is on the recipe page. That way we can go through it, but I can also go through everything for the following recipes. Okay, so we have everything on our baking sheet. I'm going to take the baking sheet to my oven, which is set as at 425, and I'm going to put it in the oven. We'll put it for 20 minutes and we'll check it. And then we can always add time, but you can't always take away time. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And Mario can open for questions if you want to do so. Be right back.
Thanks, Haley. You'll notice that she pronounced it gyros. I think that's the proper pronunciation. I pronounced it the very Americanized version. I'm excited to try this recipe because I'm a big fan of the lamb version, but cauliflower would probably be a nice healthy alternative.
Yeah, so when I was growing up, or actually when I went to college, there was this Greek place that was right down the road, and it was just this small hole in the wall. And my roommate would always go and get me chicken gyros because I don't really eat lamb or anything like that. I'm not on the experimental side, but I fell in love. Like I would literally go there probably about 2 to 3 times a week. And it was so sad that they knew my car and they were like, oh, we have your order ready. We seen you in the parking lot. I'm like, oh, that's sad. Like, that's so sad. All right, so the Euro meat cauliflower is in the oven right now. So when that's done, we'll be assembling all of that together. But the next thing we're going to be moving on to is our buffalo dip, because that needs to go into the oven as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the ingredients. If you want to know what that is, it's 1 cup of sour cream, or if you don't have sour cream, you can use yogurt. 8 ounces of cream cheese, 1 envelope of ranch salad dressing mix, 2 cups of shredded sharp cheese, 1 can of black beans rinsed and drained. We also need 8 ounces of fresh mushrooms chopped, 1 cup of buffalo wing sauce or Frank's hot sauce. And then to top it, you could use sliced green onions, and then we have some tortilla chips to dip. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab that, and I'll be right back.
I have to say, I made this myself a couple weeks back, and everyone was a huge fan. I think
really?
This is a good one for, this is a good one for like game day, you know, everybody's over to watch football or something. Plus, I'm just a huge fan of the hot sauce.
So I actually make cauliflower buffalo wings when it's game day. Just again, because my sister-in-law now, because she's my brother's fiance, is vegetarian mostly. We've kind of gotten her to eat a little bit of meat, but 90% she's vegetarian. All right, so to our bowl, we're going to be using 1 cup of sour cream. And I am actually going to be using yogurt today. First off, because my store did not have sour cream. I don't know why. But you also can use yogurt in place of sour cream if you want in like dips or this recipe, or even like baking and stuff like that. All right, so again, 1 cup. Add that to the bowl. We're also going to be adding 8 ounces of cream cheese that has been softened. So I just left mine out for a little bit. It doesn't have to be too softened. It's just so that it's easy to incorporate. I can smell the cauliflower already. I'm excited. You guys get to see how I eat my gyros, which is very weird and not traditional. And if you're Greek, please don't come for me. Okay, we're going to be adding that in. Okay, we're also going to be adding in 2 cups of sharp cheddar cheese. And I honestly always say, when it comes to cheese, just measure with your heart. It's fine. All right, and we also want to add in that ranch packet. Okay, we're gonna combine this all together. And you gotta kind of put a little muscle into it. We gotta break down that cream cheese and get it all incorporated. Because we don't want something that's just gonna be 1 block of cream cheese. And if you've softened it already, it should be pretty easy to incorporate. How's everybody doing? You guys doing okay?
This is making me hungry. I hope you guys are cooking along with us, or at least going to eat some dinner after this, because, oh.
All right, to the bowl, we are also going to be adding in 1 can of black beans. So you guys can see black beans. And I just washed and drained it. And if a little juice gets in there, it's completely fine. Don't have to strain it and pat it and all that kind of stuff. I'm also going to add in. Oh,
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh,
quick question.
Yes.
The ranch dressing packet, do you know how many ounces that is? We have somebody who buys a large bottle from Costco. So like, do you know maybe if you were
yes,
gonna
hold on.
substitute?
Okay, so this packet, which this is not the original ranch packet that I usually use, but hold on, let me, 1 second, I can grab it.
That's a good question. I usually have ranch dressing in my house, but not the ranch dressing packet.
All right, I'm back. So there's actually 2 different packets that I use generally. So this is a new one that just came out, and I'll show that up here. So this one is just says ranch dip mix. And this was actually on sale. It was buy 5, I believe, for $1, like super cheap. And they had a bunch of different ones. So there was like ranch, French onion, vegetable dip, all that kind of stuff. The one that I usually use that I just want to try this one today is this, which is the original ranch dressing seasoning pack. And this is actually 1 ounce. So it doesn't say how much the full thing is, but it just says on the package that it's 1 ounce. So you could probably measure that out from your container. All right. So I added that in. We're going to mix that all together. And the next thing we want to add in is our buffalo sauce. And I use Frank's hot sauce, which is the original buffalo sauce. And you're going to be adding in 1 cup. And I just have 1 cup left because I use this all the time. Right. So again, you're going to want to mix that all together. And you can always add more if you want to. But the next step is that you're going to place it in a nice pan.
Do you need to like grease it or anything? Or
So
just
actually,
put it straight?
Yeah, you shouldn't have to. If you really want a nice, easy cleanup, you can also wrap this in foil. That would be really easy because then you could just lift the foil up and it'll be super easy to clean. I usually just use this because it's brand new and it's still really non-stick. But if you have pans that you've been using forever religiously, I would probably put a piece of foil on it. The oil might not help because it's a dip, but foil would definitely help. All right, so switch these.
We've also had a request to see the hot sauce bottle. We're wondering what hot sauce you use. Is it Frank's? Oh yeah.
Yep.
All about the Frank's Red Hot.
Yes. So there's actually 2 different types that I like to use. The Frank's Red Hot, and then there's also the Frank's Buffalo sauce. You could use either one. This one is actually spicier than the buffalo sauce. And we tend to like spicy a little bit more, especially if we're going to eat it with something salty like chips. So I usually use that. All right. How's everybody doing that's cooking along? Are you guys on the same step as me?
I don't know. I think they're probably pretty busy if they're cooking along.
That's true. We want to thank you guys so much for coming out and cooking with us today and this whole month. We hope to see you the whole month. Come and try some new dishes. Who knows, you might find something that you want to make once a week or turns into one of your easy favorites, something that will save you money, something that you can bring to game day. You never know. All right, this is also going to go into the oven. And I'm going to put it at around 15 minutes or so. I'm going to put this in the oven and I will be right back.
I'm wondering which of these I want to make the most. I think it's the cauliflower. I'm not usually a fan of cauliflower, but that preparation looks pretty good.
Yeah, so I actually didn't really eat cauliflower until I started doing a lot of cooking classes, especially vegan cooking classes. So the company that I partner with is completely plant-based. So all of their workshops are vegan, like not vegetarian, they're straight vegan, which is completely fine. And it's really new to me, which is actually pretty good. From that, I've learned how to make millions and millions of recipes that I actually would switch out for meat any day. Like they're just so good. And I've actually turned my family into doing vegan twice a week. So we're working towards that, which is really good. It's good for your health. It helps you get all your vitamins and minerals, your all of your vegetable intake that you need, even fruit intake. And we've also started gardening, which will also help you because if you can grow your own vegetables, then you can start to be more self-sufficient and it'll be great. But yeah, so right now we have our cauliflower in the oven. We have our dip in the oven. So you guys can go ahead and clean up your station a little bit. You might have to wash your hands one more time, but we will slowly be moving the tables so that we can rotate into our curry dish. But I want you to make sure that you're keeping an eye on your cauliflower and your dip. You might have to turn your cauliflower at least once or twice. That way we can make sure it doesn't burn. So I'm going to clean up a little bit. And if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. Or if you guys have any vegetarian recipes or meals that you guys like, why don't you guys put that in the chat too? And then Mario can read it out for us. It's always interesting to see what other people like to cook, especially if it's vegetarian, because I feel like there's not a lot of known vegetarian dishes that is something that you bring to parties or something that you have as family dinner. It's always usually meat or fish or pasta and those kinds of things. So it'd be really nice to know what you guys actually cook or provide that's vegetarian or from your garden, something like that. So we'll be cleaning and we'll be right back.
We did have a question about covering the buffalo dip before baking. Do you usually cover it or is that optional?
It's completely optional. You do not have to if you don't want to. I cook with a gas stove and a gas oven. So I usually don't cover my food when I put it in the oven. But like I said, it's completely optional. If you want to, you can. It shouldn't boil over and it shouldn't splat. So it's completely optional.
Great, thanks. Anybody else have any questions for Haley while she's prepping us for our chickpea curry? I kind of want to see how it would be to put a little bit of that buffalo dip on the chickpea curry. That kind of sounds good to me. I was going to say one of my favorite vegan dishes. I was vegan for a while and we actually with FCE made it the other day. It's a chickpea peanut stew. With like peanut butter and tomatoes and a bunch of veggies and a lot of ginger and garlic.
You know what is honestly my favorite chickpea recipe? It's chickpea blondies.
Oh, that sounds good.
I wish that I had put that on this show, but if you guys are interested in that recipe, I will send it out or I'll have Mario send it out. But it is so good. It tastes just like regular blondies. I put the chocolate chips or you can put in nuts if you want, but it's so good. You would never even know that it's chickpeas versus like all the other stuff. And it doesn't have eggs. I believe in it. So, all right, we're almost ready.
Oh, and we've got a great comment in the chat. If you use a big container of ranch powder, Karen says she uses 8 tablespoons for one package. So maybe 8 tablespoons is about the same as a 1 ounce package of that ranch dip if you get it at Costco. Thanks.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I need that Blondie's recipe as well. We were talking about black bean brownies the other day. I wanted to try those. It seems like the same kind of theme there.
Yeah, so actually the dietitian that I work with, she we kind of created this recipe for that Blondie's recipe. We found one on the internet and it almost just didn't taste great. I don't want to bash anybody's cooking, but it just didn't taste great. So we added in a bunch of stuff, kind of tweaked it a little bit, and it's so good now. Let's see. Okay. All right. So I hope everybody is cleaned up, and we're going to be moving on to our curry recipe. So you guys can see my pot right here. What I'm going to do is turn it on, and I want it at a nice medium heat. And I'm gonna go ahead and just add in a little bit of olive oil right at the bottom. And you can omit it if you want. You can also use water if you don't want to use a lot of oil in your dishes. So we're gonna let this heat up, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab the peas from my freezer, so I'll be right back.
By the way, that's an induction burner that she's using. This was new to me as well. If you've never seen one before. It's
An
pretty
induction
nifty.
burner?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just got mine today.
Oh, really? Great. Yeah. So we use these a lot when we cook in the schools or if we do community projects because they cook really, really fast. Like things heat up super, super fast. You can see the actual temperature of what you're doing. And if I were to take off the pot, actually, I'll show you guys while we're waiting. You see it turns off? And then it'll actually cool down that area in about 5 seconds or so. And then I can actually touch it if I wanted to. And then if I put it back on, I have to restart the whole process to get it back. So it's completely safe. Like that's the good thing I like about it because we use it in schools and we actually have kids that are usually like 3rd grade and up that are actually cooking with these machines. So we need it to be a little bit extra safe. Okay, so to our pan, we added just 1 tablespoon of olive oil. In this bowl, I have 1 medium onion diced. I also have 1 medium zucchini diced. I also have 2 bell peppers diced and 2 carrots diced. Oh, my carrots are over here. Okay, I'm gonna add that in. And this recipe comes together pretty quick. All right, and this is completely optional. You don't have to do this, but since I have my garlic out, I'm going to be adding in a little bit of garlic. It's completely fine without it, but if you have it next to you, why not? All right, so I'm gonna add that in. All right, and we're gonna wanna cook down these for about 5 minutes or so. We don't wanna go too fast because we don't want it to char and burn, but we want the vegetables to kind of cook down just a little bit. So while these are cooking down, I want you to go ahead and go check your cauliflower. Make sure it's not burning. See if you have to turn it or so. But I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will be right back.
Hope you guys are enjoying this so far. I'm really impressed with how quickly we're going through these recipes. We've only been at it for half an hour and we're about done with 2 recipes already. So just goes to show that sometimes you can whip something up faster than it would take for you to go get takeout.
All right, my cauliflower looks like it's doing pretty well. Bring this back up to temp. We're probably just gonna give this probably another 2 minutes or so. We just want it to break down just a little bit more. So the good thing about this curry is I added a lot of vegetables in it, but you can totally add in whatever you want. Like, let's say you don't like zucchini, you can leave it out. Let's say you have fresh ulu, you can add that in. Or if you have chicken, you can completely add that in. You don't have to use all the veggies that are on the list. It's pretty much just a list of veggies that I use, but that's completely optional. A lot of people don't like peas. A lot of people don't like spinach, those kinds of things. And that's completely fine. But you want to make sure that what you're cooking is what you eat and what you love to eat. I wish you guys could smell through the video camera. Mario would be drooling. All right. So we have our vegetables cooking down a little bit. We're going to add in roughly about 2 tablespoons of curry powder. How I like to measure it is I actually like to make sure that everything is coated. So I'll just come in through. Actually, this thing is kind of. And it might seem like it's a lot, but remember, we're adding in our diced tomatoes, we're adding in our coconut milk, our curry, and we still have to add in our carrots and our potatoes. So like I said, I just like to go through and make sure that I'm coating all my vegetables. If cooking was scientific, they'd call it baking, but it's not. And that's kind of good sometimes because then you can kind of change the flavors up. It's not like you're always set to something or else it won't turn out. Like you want to make sure that you're enjoying it and it's not some stressful thing. All right, so you guys can see everything is covered and it's kind of that nice orangey yellow color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my 1 can of diced tomatoes. And this is a good way if you buy your canned tomatoes from Costco, you can use up your tomatoes. I'm gonna add that in. I am also gonna go ahead and add in my 1 can of coconut milk. It doesn't really matter what kind of coconut milk you use. You can even use frozen if you want. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that in. And if your curry did not turn out this color at this step, then you probably need to add in a little bit more curry powder because your vegetable ratio might be a little bit different. All right, so we're gonna let that simmer away a little bit. In the meantime, we're also going to be adding in our carrots and our potatoes. So I used to make this curry dish too when I was in college. I had roommates that didn't know how to cook. And so they thrived at buying ingredients and then I thrived at cooking ingredients. So it kind of worked out. And also I went ahead and I soaked my carrots and potatoes in water. I prepped them pretty early. I prepped them this morning. So that way they would stay good and not turn brown while I was waiting. And you can also prep these ingredients ahead of time, or you know what, the easiest way to do it is if you just find frozen veggies. Find like a stir fried of frozen veggies. Make the same soup base, but just add in your frozen veggies instead.
Does that help them to cook any faster, or is it just about keeping them from changing color?
The soaking it in water?
Yeah.
It just helps so that the potatoes don't turn brown. And actually, if you buy carrots from the store and you peel them, if you put them in water in a jar, they last longer. They don't kind of, you know, like when carrots are a little bit old, they tend to taste a little funky. Like they just have like a weird, little bit different taste. Yeah, so when you get them from the store, if you peel them and then you put them in a mason jar with water, probably about halfway, they'll stay good for over a month.
Wow, that's super interesting because I always have a problem with getting potatoes at the store and they just sprout so soon, it feels like. I've never
Also,
really known what to do.
Another tip is if you have an extra apple in your fridge, you can actually take it out and put it next to your potatoes and it'll keep your potatoes from sprouting.
Interesting. Do you know why?
I have no idea why, but I saw it. I saw it on Pinterest and I tried it and I was like, wow, it works. I was so amazed at myself. Okay, so this is cooking away. I'm gonna go ahead and add in my can of chickpeas, or it's also called garbanzo beans. And this is our main source of protein. So this chickpea is our protein in our dish. Oh yes, that's a good hint. That's a good tip. Potatoes, yes, they also sprout early if they are close to onions. So I usually place my onions in the fridge, mostly because I don't want to cry every time I cut onions, and it's supposed to help if you keep them in the fridge. But yeah, you're not supposed to put your potatoes next to your onions because it will help. It'll make them sprout faster. Okay, so that is our soup. Okay, so we want to change the color up just a little bit. So I'm going to be adding in roughly about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Again, Costco. And a good tip for tomato paste, because I feel like you never use the whole jar, right? And that's like a huge problem because are you supposed to just throw it away now? So what I do is I take a piece of parchment paper, I put it on a baking sheet, and I'll spoon out like little spoons like that, right? And I'll put it on the baking sheet and I'll put it in my freezer for about 30 minutes or so, all separate little dots. And then after it's froze, you can put them all into a bag and then you'll have tomato paste whenever you want, and they'll be like little individual tomato pastes. So that's a good tip if you always have tomato paste, extra tomato paste. I tend to do that a lot, and I usually have some in my freezer already. I probably do have some in my freezer right now. Okay, so this is our curry. So our potatoes are probably gonna take about maybe 7 minutes or so to cook, but I'm just gonna go ahead and add in everything else that we need. And then that way we can just let it simmer on the side. So I'm also gonna be adding in, again, which is completely optional, I'm gonna be adding in some peas. I know a lot of people don't like peas, but I do. So I'm gonna be adding in some peas. And like I said, you can completely use only frozen vegetables if that's what you have on hand, or you can use all fresh if that's what you have on hand. The good thing about cooking is it's so versatile. Like you can literally make anything out of everything. And my favorite quote is, if cauliflower can be pizza, you can be whatever you want to be. It's so funny. I love it. All right, so we're almost done. So this is what it should be looking like right now. Doesn't that look pretty and so colorful? I love it. Okay, and then I have a lot of families that can't get their kids to eat spinach, right? Like it's just like the devil. Like their kids don't want to eat spinach to save their life. So if you put it in here, it'll break down and they'll barely see it. So I'm gonna add in a few handfuls. And again, this is everything I had on hand. These are the vegetables that I buy usually weekly or every other week. So that's why I choose to put these in this curry. But if you don't have it, you can just leave it out. And these will cook down really fast. And it'll also help soak up some of that juice. So we'll have a nice thick curry. Yes, I will get that to Mario, probably by the end of this class, and then she can send it out to everybody. Okay, while this is simmering, so we want to push down all of our spinach so it has a chance to cook. I want you guys to go ahead and check on your cauliflower. My oven's a little fast. It depends on, if you're cooking with gas or electric or anything like that, but mine tends to be a little bit quick. So I may have to pull out my cauliflower, but I'll be right back. If you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and put it in the chat and I will answer them when I'm back.
We had somebody comment that the prep took longer than actually cooking. And I think that's how I feel about cooking too. That's why if you can afford it, sometimes it's nice to get the pre-chopped things or the frozen things so you can save yourself that extra time and energy it takes to prep something to make it from scratch.
I'm just gonna put this on the side real quick. Okay, if you have cooked your cauliflower, how many of you, your cauliflower is already done? And then Mario can let me know. Because we'll go to that step when everybody is ready. Or almost everybody. Oh, perfect. We have one person that's done. And I've also done, let me see. I've also done this curry and the cauliflower with ulu before. Like I've done all the same seasonings and I put it in the curry and I've used this seasoning for the cauliflower and put it on ulu and then I've baked it to make these gyros too. So if you have that available, that's completely doable.
All right, one person says they're almost done.
Perfect. That's okay. We need some time to let our potatoes cook just a little bit more.
Someone mentioned that they were trying to buy frozen, maybe frozen cauliflower, but the store had pretty bare shelves. That might be true right now, especially. Do you have any suggestions for like substitutions for some of these things besides the ulu?
Besides what?
The ulu.
Oh, you could also use tofu is another good one, vegetarian. I've done this same recipe, both recipes with the tofu as well, and it's worked out fine. Another thing you could do is roast the chickpeas. So like the same can, which you can buy all the time, roast these in the same marinade that you made your cauliflower, and it turns out completely the same. So that's something like if you can't find some cauliflower that's frozen or raw or anything, this is probably the next best option that would probably taste the same, might have around the same texture. But if you're a real big tofu fan, that would work as well. I've made the same marinade on many different things, but usually if people are asking about cauliflower substitutions, I usually go to garbanzo beans first because it's always available and it usually has the same texture.
Yeah, I've made that before and it was delicious. We did have a question. Can they use Japanese box curry if they don't have bottled curry?
Yep, that's completely fine as well. Another fun tip is curry powder. I don't know if on the Big Island you guys have this, but there's like a Mexican aisle that has packaged like seasonings, and they're like $1.69. They always have curry powder, and I just put it into this like cute fun jar. But they always have bags and bags and bags, and it's super cheap. Like if you're gonna go get McCormick or anything like that, curry powder usually can run up to $8, which is super expensive. But if you guys have that aisle, go ahead and check it out. You could also use the paste. You could also use those sticks, like the curry sticks that they have. The thing about those things you need to remember is they have a lot of preservatives. They have a lot of sodium in them. So if you're watching your sodium intake, you want to make sure that maybe you're either not using as much or you're opting for a healthier choice, which is this would be your healthier choice, just raw curry powder. Okay, I think we're almost there. How's everybody's cauliflower doing? Ooh, yes, deep fried tofu. Have you guys ever? Oh, yay, cauliflower done. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my curry on the side, and I'm gonna bring my cauliflower up so we can show you how to assemble that. And we'll be right back.
Deep fried tofu is my favorite thing for curry. I especially love it with red curry.
You like what? Sorry.
The deep fried tofu.
Oh. Okay, so this is what your cauliflower should look like. I can zoom in a little bit, show you guys. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're gonna be assembling. Like I said, I do it a lot different than everybody else, so don't come at me. But we don't have a real good grocery store here usually that has really good tzatziki sauce. And I don't know if you guys know what tzatziki sauce is, but what it is it's usually plain yogurt, usually Greek yogurt. So plain yogurt, lemon juice, dill, and garlic, and shaved cucumbers. That's what makes tzatziki sauce. I usually can never make it like the place that I got it in college, so I don't even try. Like it's just not the same. But there's a lot of good recipes out there if you want to do that. But I just cheat and I use ranch because I like ranch on everything. But I'm gonna go grab my ranch dressing and then I'll show you how I assemble this.
That cauliflower looks good. Looks nice and crispy.
Right? I'm so excited. Okay, so I warmed up my flatbreads and I just have these little baby ones. You could use the big ones if you want, but ideally I just want it to roll, right? Like I just want it to be like a nice little pocket for my fillings. Okay, so I like to add ranch on the bottom and on the sides. Okay. And then I will scoop up. And then on this side, you can't see it, but I have my fixins. So I have some cucumbers, some tomatoes, and some onions. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that in. And you could also use, I'm gonna add in a little bit of spinach, which is completely optional again. It's just what you have on hand. And that's a good meal prep tip, is that if you have it on hand, you want to find different ways that you can use it. So before it goes bad, right? I'm going to add in a few cucumbers. And I like to take the seeds out of my cucumbers. They tend to last longer because they're not as watery. Add a few tomatoes. Where did my spoon go? And then I will spoon in some of my cauliflower. Make it all fancy. And then of course you've got to do the top drizzle. You've got to. All right. All right. There it is. Trying to find my, there. There you go.
That looks so good.
That's what it looks like up here. Oh, we dropped the piece. Okay, so if you want, you can go ahead and try it. I am going to put it on the side, but go ahead and try it and tell us what you think. I'm gonna be making my other ones real quick while I have all my ingredients out in front of me. And then you guys can follow along if you got lost. So I'm gonna take my flatbread and add a little bit of sauce on the bottom. I'm gonna add a few leaves of spinach just because I like spinach. I'll add a few onions, a few cucumbers, tomatoes. Another good way too is if you have raw cauliflower, if you just cut off the stem, you can roast it as a whole cauliflower, and then like the Greeks usually will cut the meat off of the stick. You can just like cut pieces off of your cauliflower, make it a little bit more authentic.
Do you have any suggestions if you can't get flatbread or naan? Kind of hard to find a substitute, I feel like.
I've just used like tortillas before and it was completely fine. There's also a good recipe for flatbreads. That's like a no knead flatbread. So you just make the dough real quick and then you just put it on the stove and it cooks up in about 5 minutes or so. So that's a good recipe. I have that on hand usually when I go to like family gatherings, because it's just better than having store-bought pre-made flatbread.
Someone commented that theirs tastes good. Oh, pita bread. Lavonda suggested pita bread. That's a great idea.
Yes, and this is a very keto-friendly recipe if you are going to use keto bread. Okay, do you guys want to see my whole plate?
Yes. Oh, wow. Beautiful. Oh, the colors come together so nicely.
Yep, there it is. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put this on the side. We're gonna go check our buffalo dip, but I think our curry should be ready. And I made some rice for it. So I will show you what that looks like. All right, so this is our curry. See, it comes together real nice. Okay, and then I just have my cute little bowl with my little scoop of rice. But I'm gonna go ahead and just plate this up. This would be good if it's like a nice, cold, rainy day. All right, there it is. There's your curry.
Those peas do look pretty good.
Are you not a pea eater?
Not really, but they're so pretty.
They are. They make the dish look pretty. All right, so that is that. I'm gonna go ahead and check on my buffalo dip. So I'm going to move this, and I believe it should be almost done. So I'm gonna go ahead and check that, and I'll be right back. If you guys have any other further questions, and it doesn't have to be about these recipes tonight. It can just be about plant-based cooking, substitutions, anything like that I can help you out with. Just let me know.
I loved the apple and potato tip. She's just full of those little bits of wisdom.
All right, here it is.
Wow.
So let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. And I'm just gonna add a little bit more cheese, just right on top, because you have to get that cheese full. You have to. So this is just right out of the oven. I would let my cheese just sit just a little bit longer, just so that it could melt through a little bit more. But that's pretty much it. I mean, that's all the recipes. Do you guys have any other further questions? I will show you guys everything. Let me try and position it on this plate.
Do you ever eat the buffalo dip with vegetables? Or do you
I like
stick
to eat it with, so my boyfriend likes to eat it with bell peppers, you know, like the little sweet peppers. He likes it like that. I like it with carrots because I like the spicy, you know, like when you eat buffalo wings and then you eat like the carrot with the ranch. Like I actually like to drizzle ranch on my dip and then I eat it with carrots. So there's the, yeah. Very
That sounds
interesting.
good. Yeah, I think I had ours with celery.
Oh. Okay, so those are those two. And then we have our see if I can fit everything.
Those look great. And we've had a request for the flatbread recipe too.
Awesome. Yeah, I can get all of those recipes to you guys. Making a mess. It's not cooking unless you make a mess.
Oh, and we've also got a request for a chicken or hamburger curry recipe. Going
awesome.
a little off the vegetarian streak, but that sounds good too.
So the chicken, so what I do, I don't know how comfortable you guys feel with your Instapot, if you have one, or a pressure cooker. But what I like to do is I will put maybe 2 to 3 chicken breasts into the crock pot or Instapot first. And I'll let that go roughly for about 10 minutes or so. And then by that time, when I open the lid, everything should be shredded. And then I just add in everything else, like all of the seasonings, all of the vegetables, whatever vegetables you want, all of the coconut milk, the diced tomatoes, the tomato paste. I stir it up and then I pressurize it again for about 3 minutes. And then there's your curry. All done. Awesome. So that's that. I've also made this with not hamburger, but I've made it with like chunks of meat, like chunks of beef, and that turns out really good. I'm sure it would be fine with hamburger, but usually actually in my household, we don't really eat hamburger in general. If we're going to eat like ground meat, it's usually turkey or chicken or something like that.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, any last questions? Otherwise, while you guys are still with us, I'm just going to drop in the chat a link to our evaluation. It'll also pop up after you exit this event. So if you could fill it out one way or another, that'd be super helpful. It helps us to justify continuing these free programs in the future. Otherwise, bring on any last minute questions. But thank you so much for being here with us. And thanks so much, Haley. This is great.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Have a good evening. And those of you who cooked with Haley, enjoy your dinner.
Yes. And please send us pictures if you have. If you take pictures, I mean, if you cook something, take pictures, show us. We'd love to see them. And if you've made any changes to the recipe that you'd like to shout out, that would be amazing. We're always willing to learn more things and we can share those great things and ideas. So just let us know.
Definitely. And don't forget to join us next week. We'll be making pasta dishes. So I'll send out those recipes in the next few days. And of course, we'll send that chickpea blondie recipe and the flatbread recipe.
Yes.
Feel free
I will
to
work on those tonight.
If anything else comes to mind.
Sorry, I'm already picking out the food.
You should take a bite. That's what they do at the end of cooking shows, right? They take a bite and go, delicious.
Let me try this curry. I'm getting the peas just for you, Mario. I wish you could eat it with me.
I know. I think I'd go for the cauliflower actually.
The gyros. I'm excited for this dip. I'm gonna like watch TV and eat my dip.
That sounds deadly. All right, I'm going to stop this recording. Thanks everybody for being with us, and we'll see you next week.